The emergency alarm echoed through every corridor of the Valon Council building. Counselor Juan rushed through the polished marble halls, her footsteps striking the floor with desperate urgency. Her slender frame moved as quickly as it could, and beneath her translucent skin, the blue blood in her veins pulsed with panic. Fear had finally reached Vale Prime, and it tasted like ash. Like the end of everything they had built, she pushed through the command center doors, freezing for a moment as the scene before her unfolded. Every wall was covered with holographic displays, each one showing the same nightmare. The galaxy map was drowning in red. 17 colonies had vanished, 17 worlds where millions of Valons had lived, worked, dreamed, and raised their children. 17 thriving civilizations that had gone completely silent in less than 3 weeks. No distress signals, no survivors, no explanation, only darkness. Ambassador Yuna stood beside the central display, staring at the growing list of lost colonies. She was younger than Juan, barely past her first century, yet the weight of the moment made her look ancient. Her hands trembled as she pointed toward the star map. "They're getting closer," Yuna whispered. Her voice remained calm, almost perfectly controlled. But Juan heard what was hidden beneath it. Terror. For the first time in centuries, the Valon Empire was not facing a rebellion. It was facing something far worse. A force that was coming for them. "The Chromath will reach our outer defense line in 4 days." The Chromath swarm. Even the name made Juan's stomach turn. They were not like any enemy the villains had ever known. They were not a civilization. They were a plague. Living ships that moved through space, eating everything in their path. Planets, stations, entire fleets. Nothing stopped them. Nothing even slowed them down. Fleet Commander Tai Yang entered the room. His uniform was burnt at the edges. He had just returned from the front lines. "The defense fleet is broken," he said without greeting. "We lost 32 ships in the last battle. The weapons do nothing. We hit them with everything we have and they just keep coming." Hiwan felt her legs weaken. She had lived for 300 years. She had seen the villain collective grow from 6 systems to 43. She had helped write treaties with 5 different species. She had believed that intelligence and diplomacy could solve any problem. She had been wrong. "We sent requests to the Galactic Council," Yuna said. "We begged for help. Do you know what they said?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They said we should evacuate. They said we should abandon our worlds and run. Some friends we have." The room fell silent. Outside the windows, Vela Prime looked peaceful. The purple sky was clear. The floating gardens drifted in the gentle wind. Children played in the parks. None of them knew that their entire civilization was about to die. Taiyang walked to the star map. His finger traced a route through empty space. "There's one option we have not tried," he said quietly. "The quarantine zone." Hay's breath caught. She knew what he meant. Everyone in the room knew. "The humans," Yuna whispered. The word hung in the air like a curse. Humans. The species from the Death World. The species that scared the entire galaxy so much that they were locked away in their own system. 200 years ago, they had made first contact. It had gone badly. Very badly. Humans came from a planet called Earth. The report said it was a nightmare world. Gravity so strong it would crush most species. Predators that hunted in packs. Weather they could kill in minutes. Diseases that evolved faster than medicine could stop them. The humans had not just survived this world. They had conquered it. Then they had started looking at the stars. The Galactic Council had tested them. Simple diplomatic scenarios. The humans had failed every single one. They were too aggressive, too territorial, too quick to violence. They saw threats everywhere, because on their world, threats were everywhere. The Council had made a decision. Humanity was classified as Class 9 Death World species. They were placed under voluntary quarantine. For their own good, the Council had said, for everyone's safety, the humans had agreed. They went back to their system and closed the door behind them. No one had heard from them in 200 years. "We cannot," Juan said. "The humans are dangerous." The Council forbade contact. "If we break quarantine, The council abandoned us. Yuna shouted. Her calm mask cracked. They left us to die. What does it matter what they forbid? We will all be dead in a month anyway. Taeyang nodded slowly. The ambassador is right. We have no allies, no weapons that work, no time to evacuate 43 systems. The Chromath will consume us all. He turned to face Huan directly. Unless we find someone who can fight them. Someone dangerous enough to make the Chromath afraid. Huan looked at the star map. The red markers blinked. Each one was a world filled with vain souls. Her people, her responsibility. What if the humans refuse? She asked. What if they do not care about us? Then we die knowing we tried everything, Yuna said. But if they come, she paused. The old report said, humans have one strange quality. They protect those who ask for help. Even strangers, even enemies. They call it honor. Honor will not stop the Chromath, Taeyang said, but human weapons might. Their warships, their soldiers, if even half the stories are true. He did not finish. He did not need to. Everyone had heard the stories. Humans who could survive injuries that would kill any other species. Humans who fought in conditions that would make other soldiers surrender. Humans who never retreated, never quit, never stopped until their enemy was destroyed, or they were dead. Monsters. The galaxy called them killers, from a killer world. But maybe that was exactly what the Vaylins needed. Huan took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. Prepare the message, she said. Send it to the Sol system. Maximum power on all frequencies. Send them our coordinates. Tell them. She paused. What did you say to monsters when you needed them to save you? Tell them we are dying. Tell them we need help. Tell them the Chromath swarm is coming, and we cannot stop it. Yuna worked at her console. Her fingers moved quickly. Message ready. Should I add anything else? Please, Huan whispered. Add the word please. It costs us nothing to be polite. The message transmitted. Radio waves rushed out into the darkness, moving at the speed of light toward the quarantine zone, toward Earth, toward humanity, toward hope, or toward doom. Huan was no longer sure which. How long until they receive it? Huan asked. 3 days, Yuna said. If they respond immediately, we might have their answer in a week. We do not have a week, Taeyang said. The Chromath will be here in 4 days. Huan walked to the window. She looked out at her beautiful world, her doomed world. Then we hold them as long as we can. Every ship, every soldier, every minute we buy might be the minute that saves us. She turned back to face her companions. And if the humans do come, what then? What price will they demand? Does it matter? Yuna asked. We will be alive to pay it. The 3 Vaylants stood in silence. Outside, the alarms continued to wail. Ships launched from orbital docks, rushing to defensive positions they all knew were useless. Families huddled in their homes, hoping for a miracle. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the message traveled, a desperate plea from a dying civilization to the species the galaxy had locked away. A prayer sent to monsters. Huan closed her eyes. She tried to imagine what the humans would look like if they came. Tall, the report said, strong with eyes that could stare at bright lights without pain, skin that could heal from terrible wounds, bodies built to survive on a world that killed everything else. She tried to imagine them as saviors. All she could see were the monsters from her nightmares. But nightmares could fight nightmares, and the Chromath were the worst nightmare of all. Admiral Hyun-woo stood in the command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The walls were lined with screens showing every corner of human space, mining stations around Jupiter, colony domes on Mars, ship construction yards orbiting the moon. 200 years of isolation had not been wasted. A young officer approached him. She was nervous. Admiral Hunu had that effect on people. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion when colony workers tried to break free from Earth. He had stopped the Titan pirates when they raided supply convoys. He had spent 50 years building Earth's military into something powerful. Something ready, sir, the officer said. Deep Space Monitoring picked up a transmission. It is not one of ours, Hun-woo turned. His eyes were sharp despite his age. From outside the quarantine zone. Yes, sir. It is a distress call from a species called the Veland Collective. They are asking for help. The room went quiet. For 200 years, humanity had honored the quarantine. They had stayed in their system. They had not sent messages out. They had not tried to break free. The galaxy had called them dangerous, so they had removed themselves from the galaxy. Simple as that. But now the galaxy was calling them. "Play it," Yan Wu ordered. The message filled the room. A voice spoke in a language computers quickly translated. The voice was female. She sounded tired, scared. She explained about the Chromath swarm, about the colonies that had fallen, about the approaching end of her civilization. She gave coordinates. She asked for help. Then she added one word at the end. "Please." Hun Wu listened to the message 3 times. Then he called for a meeting. Within 2 hours, the most important people in human space gathered in the conference room. Military commanders, government leaders, scientists, they all wanted to know the same thing. What should humanity do? Dr. Ju spoke first. She was the head of xenobiology, the study of alien life. The Valens are a peaceful species, she said. They have never attacked anyone. They built their civilization on cooperation and science. If they are asking for help, they must be truly desperate. Or it is a trap, said General Quan. He commanded the defense forces around Earth. The galaxy locked us away. Maybe this is a test. Maybe they want to see if we break quarantine. Then they have an excuse to destroy us. Or maybe they really need help. Captain Sora said she commanded the U.S. Retribution, the largest warship humanity had ever built. And maybe we are the only ones who can give it. The debate went on for hours. Some argued for caution. We have built a good life here, they said. Why risk everything for aliens who do not even know us? Others argued for action if we hide forever. What is the point of having a military? What is the point of being strong? Commander Dejo listened quietly. He led the Hellhounds, the Marine Corps Special Forces. His job was to fight in places where normal soldiers could not survive. He had trained for every possible scenario, boarding enemy ships, fighting in zero gravity, urban combat on alien worlds. Finally, he spoke. I have read the reports about the Chromath swarm. He said, they sound like a plague. They consume everything. If we ignore them, if we let them grow stronger, eventually they will come here to Soul to Earth. Better to fight them now while they are far away. That changed the mood in the room. People had been thinking about the Valance, about politics, about what the galaxy might think. Dejo made them think about survival, about protecting Earth. Admiral Hyun-woo raised his hand. The room fell silent. Everyone waited to hear what he would say. 200 years ago, the galaxy judged us, he said quietly. They said we were too dangerous, too violent, too aggressive. They were not wrong. We come from a hard world. We have fought terrible wars. We have weapons that should never have been invented. He paused. But we have also learned. We have united. We have become something better than we were. He stood up. Someone asked us for help. Not to conquer, not to control, to help. If we ignore that call, then the galaxy was right about us. We are monsters. But if we answer it, if we use our strength to protect instead of destroy, then maybe we prove them wrong. He looked around the room. I say we go. We send the fleet. We save the villains if we can, and we show the galaxy what humanity really is. The vote was not unanimous. Some still thought it was too risky, but the majority agreed. Humanity would answer the call. The mobilization began immediately. Hun Wu had spent decades preparing for this. The shipyards burst into activity. Crews reported to their vessels. Supply ships loaded weapons and food and spare parts. Captain Sora walked through the corridors of the Retribution. Her ship was a kilometer long, covered in armor that could stop almost anything. Inside were weapon systems that had never been tested in real combat. Rail guns that could throw metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile batteries with AI targeting. Energy weapons that could burn through starship holes. The ship was designed for one purpose, to kill other ships. Humans were very good at killing. They had thousands of years of practice. Commander Dejo assembled his Marines in the training bay. 200 soldiers in powered armor. Each suit multiplied their strength, protected them from vacuum and radiation, had weapons built into the arms. The Marines could fight anywhere, on ships, on stations, on planets, in conditions that would kill unprotected humans in seconds. "We are going to war," Dejo told them. "We are going to fight an enemy that has destroyed dozens of worlds. An enemy that does not surrender, does not negotiate, does not stop." He smiled. It was not a kind smile. Sounds like they never fought humans before. The Marines laughed. They were not afraid. Fear was something you felt when you did not know if you could win. They knew they could win. They were humans. Winning was what they did. Dr. Ji Woo prepared the first contact package. Information about humans, about Earth, about their biology and culture. She wanted the Valance to understand who was coming to help them. She wanted them to see humans as more than weapons. She included pictures of Earth, oceans and mountains and forests, cities full of people living normal lives, children playing, artists creating, scientists discovering. She wanted to show that humans were not just soldiers, but she also included warnings. Humans were strong because Earth made them strong. Their gravity was higher than most worlds. Their immune systems could fight diseases that would kill other species. They could eat foods that were poison to others. They had evolved to survive on a planet that constantly tried to kill them. The Valance needed to know what they were getting. 3 days after receiving the message, the first contact fleet was ready. 12 dreadnoughts, 47 destroyers, 8 carriers, support ships, troop transports, everything humanity could spare without leaving Earth defenseless. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled, and it was about to leave the solar system for the first time in 200 years. Admiral Haiyan Wu stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, the fleet arranged itself into formation, sleek warships that looked like predators, because that was what they were. Predators going hunting. He recorded a message to send ahead of the fleet to the Valance. It was short. "Your call for help has been received. The United Earth Space Force is coming. Hold your position. Estimated arrival 47 days. Humanity answers." The message transmitted. Then the fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel. They crossed the quarantine border. Alarms went off all across the galaxy as automated systems detected the movement. The Deathworlders were no longer contained. They were coming, and they were coming to war. The human fleet moved through space like a school of sharks, silent, fast, deadly. Captain Sora stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the tactical display. 67 ships moving in perfect coordination. Every vessel knew its position. Every captain understood their role. They had practiced this formation 1,000 times. Now they would use it for real. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we are receiving multiple warnings, automated beacons. They are telling us to turn back. They say we are violating galactic law by leaving our quarantine zone." Sora smiled. "Acknowledge the warnings. Do not respond. Maintain course and speed." The galaxy was nervous. Good. Let them be nervous. Humanity had been locked away like dangerous animals for 200 years. Now the cage was open. The galaxy could deal with it. Dr. Ju worked in her small office near the bridge. She was sending continuous messages ahead of the fleet, broadcasting in every language she knew, explaining that humanity came in peace, that they were responding to a distress call, that they meant no harm to anyone except the Chromath. She hoped someone would believe her. She feared no one would. The responses came slowly. Most were simple. Alien ships moving away from the human fleet's path, creating distance, staying safe. A few sent actual messages. "Warning, you are approaching Helix Coalition space. Turn back or be destroyed. The humans must not be allowed to reach the Valance. They will consume both species. To the Deathworld fleet, we remember the old warnings. We will not interfere. Pass through our space in peace." That last message made Ju feel a little better. At least someone was willing to trust them, or maybe they were just too afraid to fight. Either way, it meant less trouble. Down in the Marine barracks, Commander Dejo ran his soldiers through combat drills. Again and again, the Hellhounds practiced boarding actions. They practiced fighting in narrow corridors. They practiced dealing with biological threats. "The Chromath ships are alive," Dejo told his troops. "They will not be like anything you have trained for. The walls might move. The floors might attack you, the air might be toxic, your armor will protect you, but you need to stay sharp, trust your training, trust your squad, trust your weapons. The Marines listened. They were ready. They had been ready their whole lives. Every human was descended from survivors, from people who fought saber-toothed cats and survived ice ages and built civilizations in deserts and jungles. Fighting was in their blood. Surviving was their heritage. On the flagship, Admiral Hun Wu received regular updates. The fleet was making good time. They would reach Valen space in 43 days, maybe faster if they pushed the engines harder, but speed was not his biggest concern. Information was what were they really flying into? How strong was the Chromoth? How many ships did they have? What were their weaknesses? He called a meeting with his senior officers. "We need to know more about this enemy," he said. "Captain Sora, what do our sensors tell us? Long-range scans are picking up unusual readings from Valent space." Sora reported high concentrations of organic compounds, gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic interference. "Whatever the Chromath are, they are big and there are a lot of them." "Commander Dejo," Hyunwoo continued, "are your Marines ready for anything?" "Always, sir. We have trained for every scenario. Hostile environments, biological weapons, close combat, high people can handle it." "Dr. Ju, have you had any contact with the villains yet?" Ju shook her head. "Not yet. I have sent multiple messages. No response. Either they are too busy fighting or they are afraid of us. Maybe both." Yanwu nodded slowly. He understood fear. Humans had been feared their entire history. By other tribes, by other nations. Now by other species, fear was a weapon, but it could also be a shield. "Keep trying," he said. "We need them to know we are coming. We need them to trust us, at least a little bit." The days passed. The fleet pushed deeper into space that no human had ever crossed. They saw wonders. Nebula that glowed with strange colors. Binary star systems. The ruins of ancient civilizations. But they also saw the emptiness, the silence, entire regions of space, where no ships traveled, where stations were abandoned. The galaxy was bigger than humanity had imagined, and lonelier. On day 37, they crossed into what had been territory. The change was immediate. Dead satellites drifted in orbit around lifeless planets. Debris fields marked where battles had been fought. And everywhere there was an awful smell. Even through filtered air systems, the crew could sense it. Death, decay, consumption. "Captain," the sensor officer called out, "I am detecting multiple large objects ahead. Distance 2 light hours. They are not moving like ships. They are drifting, but they are huge." "Show me," Sora ordered. The main screen filled with images. The Chromath biohips. They looked like nothing humans had ever seen. Part asteroid, part organic growth, part nightmare. Massive things covered in what looked like armor, made of bone and chitin, protrusions that could be weapons or could be limbs. They did not look designed. They looked grown. "How big?" Sora asked. "The largest one is approximately 5 kilometers long. Mass estimates suggest they are mostly solid, dense organic material 5 kilometers. The Retribution was 1 kilometer long and was the biggest thing humans had built. These things were 5 times that size. And there were dozens of them." "Are they active?" Sora asked. "Sensors indicate life signs, heat signatures, electromagnetic activity." "Yes, they are very much alive." Sora felt her pulse quicken. Not from fear, from anticipation. This was what she had trained for. This was why the Retribution existed. To face impossible odds and win anyway. "Alert the fleet," she said. "Combat stations. All crews to ready status. Prepare all weapon systems, and someone get me a connection to Admiral Hyan Wu. Now." Minutes later, Hyan Wu's face appeared on her screen. His expression was calm. Always calm. That was what made him a good admiral. Nothing shook him. "Report," he said simply. "We have visual on the Chromath, sir. Multiple bioships. They are bigger than our projections, much bigger. Can we take them?" Sora thought about it. About the weapons her ship carried. About the training her crew had. About what humans could do when they had to. "Yes, sir. We can take them." "Good. Continue to advance. Make contact with the villains if possible. I want to know exactly what we are dealing with before we engage. Understood, sir. The connection ended. Sora turned to her communications officer, Dr. Gia's team. Tell them to broadcast a direct message to Vela Prime. Tell them humanity has arrived. Tell them we are here to help. And tell them to give us everything they know about these Chromath. Every detail, every weakness, everything. The message went out. For long minutes there was no response. The fleet continued to advance, getting closer to the Chromath, getting closer to the Valen homeworld. Then the reply came. A voice shaky but determined speaking translated villain. This is Ambassador Yuna of the Villain Collective. We received your message. We cannot believe you came. We thought you would ignore us. We thought everyone would ignore us. She paused. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more afraid. You should not have come. The Chromoth cannot be stopped. They have destroyed everything we sent against them. Your fleet will die here, just like ours did. We are sorry. We should not have called you. We should not have Sora cut into the transmission. Ambassador, this is Captain Sora of the United Earth Space Force. You called for help. We are here to give it now. Stop apologizing and start helping us. We need tactical data, battle reports, everything you have on the Chromoth. Can you do that? Silence. Then a different voice. Older male. This is Fleet Commander Tai Yang. We will send you everything we have. But Captain, you need to understand. We hit them with every weapon we know. Nothing works. They adapt too fast. They heal too quickly. You are brave to come, but bravery will not save you. Sora smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Commander, you hit them with villain weapons. Now let them try human weapons. Send us your data and watch what happens when Earth comes to war. The data from the villains arrived in massive files. Battle reports, sensor readings, tactical analyses. Dr. Ju spent hours reviewing it all. What she read made her cold inside. The Chromath were worse than anyone had described. They were not just aggressive, they were perfect predators. Every ship they destroyed taught them something new. Every weapon used against them made them stronger. They absorbed technology. They adapted biology. They were evolution on fast forward. The villains had tried energy weapons. The Chromath grew reflective armor. They tried kinetic weapons. The Chromath developed dense plating. They tried biological weapons. The Chromoth simply ate them and became immune. Ju brought her findings to Admiral Hunwu. He listened carefully, his face showing nothing, so they adapt to everything he said when she finished. Yes, sir. The villains estimate that the Chromath can develop countermeasures to any single weapon system within 6 hours of first exposure. 6 hours. Haiyan Wu was quiet for a moment. That is why we bring everything. All weapons, all tactics. We hit them with so many different things. They cannot adapt fast enough. We overwhelm them. Ju nodded. That is the theory, sir. But there is something else. The villains are afraid of us. More afraid than they are of the Chromath. Why? They read the old reports from 200 years ago. They know we come from a death world. They know we are physically stronger than them. They know our history of warfare. She paused. They are grateful we came, but they are terrified of what we might do after the Chromath are gone. Haiyan Wu stood and walked to the window. Outside, the fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. Then we will have to show them what we are, he said softly. Not just in how we fight, but in what we do after we win. The fleet commander for the Valance requested a direct meeting. Hyun Woo agreed. The holographic conference room activated. The image of Fleet Commander Tai Yang appeared. He looked exhausted. His uniform was stained. His eyes had the look of someone who had seen too much death. Behind him, Counselor Heywan and Ambassador Yuna stood watching. They looked even worse. These were people who had spent their lives believing in peace and cooperation. Now their world was ending. Admiral Hun Woo, Tai Yang said. His voice was formal, careful. Thank you for responding to our call. We have sent you all our tactical data. I hope it helps. I wish I could tell you how to defeat the Chromoth, but we have not found a way. Perhaps your weapons will work better than ours. Commander, Haiyan Wu replied. I have reviewed your data. You fought bravely. You used your resources well, but you fought a defensive war. You tried to protect every world, every station, every ship. That is admirable, but it is also impossible. Taiyang frowned. We could not abandon our people. We had to try to save them. Of course, Yunwu said. But humans learned something a long time ago. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to destroy what threatens it completely, totally, without mercy. The villains looked at each other. They were beginning to understand. Counselor Huan stepped forward. "Admiral," she said slowly, "are you saying you do not intend to defend our worlds? You plan to attack the Chromoth directly." "That is exactly what I am saying. How many of your civilians remain on the outer colonies?" "None," Taiyang said quietly. "The Chromoth consumed them all. Only Vela Prime still has a civilian population. 12 billion souls. Then we do not need to worry about collateral damage," Haiyan Wu said. "We can use our full arsenal. No restrictions, no holding back." Ambassador Yuna spoke up. Her voice shook. "Full arsenal? What does that mean?" Yunwu looked at her. His eyes were hard. "It means we bring every weapon humanity has ever invented. Some of them should never be used. Some of them we swore we would never use again. But this is an extinction event for you, and potentially for us if the Chromath are not stopped. So, we will use everything, and when we are done, the Chromath will no longer exist." The silence in the room was absolute. The villains stared at the human admiral. They had called for help. They had not realized they were calling for annihilation. Finally, Huan spoke. "You understand we have no way to pay you for this. We have no resources left, no technology you would want. We can offer nothing but our gratitude." "We do not want payment," Haiyan Wu said. "We want the quarantine to end. We want to rejoin the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as equals, as allies. Your call for help gives us that chance. You prove that we are needed, that we have value beyond our capacity for violence." Yuna stepped closer to the hologram. "If you do this, if you save us, the Velen Collective will stand with humanity. We will tell the galaxy what you did. We will sponsor your return. We will be your allies. Then we have an agreement," Haiyan Wu said. "Now, let me explain what will happen. My fleet will engage the Chromath in 48 hours. We will draw them away from Vela Prime. I want you to evacuate as many people as possible to underground shelters. Seal them. Make them as safe as you can." "You think some Chromoth will get through?" Taiyang asked. "No. I think my weapons will be very bright and very loud. I do not want to scare your population, and if something goes wrong, if we fail, your people will have some protection." Hei shook her head. "If you fail, Admiral, shelters will not save us. The Chromoth will find everyone eventually. They always do. Then we will not fail," Hunwu said simply. "Humanity does not travel across the galaxy to lose." The meeting ended. The hologram faded. Haiyan Wu turned to his own officers. "Captain Sora, deploy the fleet in attack formation. Dreadnoughts on the front line, carriers in support, destroyers to provide screening. I want every weapon charged and ready." "Everything. Yes, sir. All weapons, including all weapons," Haiyan Wu repeated firmly. "Including those," Sora nodded. She understood the antimatter weapons, the planet killers, the weapons that humanity had sworn never to use except in the most desperate situations. This qualified as desperate. "Commander Dejo, prepare your Marines for boarding actions. If any Chromath ships survive our initial attack, I want them taken out from the inside. Can you do that, sir? My Marines can board a Sun if you order it. A few bioships will not be a problem." "Good. Dr. Ju, keep monitoring Valen communications. I want to know if the Chromath change their behavior, any new tactics, any new abilities, anything." "Understood, Admiral." Hyun Woo looked at the tactical display. The Chromath biohips were there. Dozens of them, each one massive, each one deadly. They had destroyed an entire civilization, but they had not fought humanity yet. They had not experienced what happens when a species from a death world decides something must die. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson. A simple lesson, a brutal lesson. Never threaten something a human has decided to protect. On Vela Prime, the population watched their skies. They saw their own defeated ships limping home. They saw the Chromath bioships drifting closer. And now they saw something new. Ships that looked different. Ships that moved different ships, that came from a world even more terrifying than the Chromoth. The humans had arrived, and they came not to defend, they came to destroy. The human fleet did not approach slowly. They did not try to negotiate, they did not send warnings. They simply attacked. Admiral Hun Wu gave one order: fire everything. The railguns spoke first. Massive weapons that used magnetic acceleration to throw metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Not just fast, a significant fraction of the speed of light. At those velocities, a piece of metal the size of a fist had enough energy to destroy a building. The human ships fired hundreds of them in the first salvo. The Chromath biohips had armor, thick organic plating that had stopped villain weapons. It might as well have been paper. The railgun rounds punched through the bioships like bullets through fruit. Explosions blossomed as the projectiles tore through vital systems. The Chromath reacted immediately. They launched swarms of smaller organisms, living missiles that had destroyed dozens of Valen ships. Thousands of them rushed toward the human fleet. The human point defense systems activated. Automated weapons tracked every incoming threat. Lasers, particle beams, small railguns. The system could target thousands of objects simultaneously and fired continuously. The Chromath missiles died by the hundreds, by the thousands. A few got through. They slammed into human ships. They bounced off. The armor was too strong. These were ships built to withstand micrometeorites traveling at interstellar speeds. Biological missiles were nothing. Captain Sora watched the battle unfold on her displays. The Chromoth were trying to adapt. She could see it. Their armor was getting thicker, their movements more evasive, but they were too slow. Humans did not rely on a single weapon. "Switch to missiles," she ordered. "Full spread, all batteries." The missile launchers opened. Hundreds of weapons streaked toward the Chromath ships. But these were not simple explosives. Each missile had its own computer brain, its own sensors, its own ability to think and adjust. They worked together like a swarm of angry insects, coordinating their attacks, finding weak points, exploiting gaps. The Chromoth biohip shuddered under the impacts. They tried to grow countermeasures, tried to create defensive fields. Too late. The missiles were already inside their armor, already detonating deep in their organic hulls. "Energy weapons," Sora continued. "Full power. Burn them." Laser batteries opened fire, not the weak civilian lasers used for cutting or communication. These were military-grade weapons designed to punch through armor and boil metal. The beams focused on the wounded bioships, cutting deep, cauterizing as they went. The Chromath could heal quickly, but not if you burned the wounds shut. The largest bioship changed tactics. It accelerated directly toward Vela Prime. If it could not win, it would complete its mission. It would consume the last villain world. "Commander Dejo," Sora called out. "That big one is making a run for the planet. Can you stop it?" Through the communication system, Dejo's voice came back, calm, almost amused. "Give me 5 minutes." The Hellhounds launched from their carrier. 200 Marines in powered armor. They flew through space using small rocket packs, heading straight for the massive bioship. The Chromath tried to stop them. They released defensive organisms. The Marines shot them down. They created acid clouds. The Marine armor was sealed. They grew spines and blades from their hull. The Marines had plasma cutters. Nothing stopped them. They were humans. Stopping was not in their nature. The Marines breached the biochip's hull in a dozen places. Inside was nightmare fuel, organic corridors that pulsed like veins, floors that tried to grab them, walls that secreted toxins, the Chromath itself trying to fight back with antibodies and weapons grown from its own flesh. The Hellhounds moved through it all like they were on a training exercise. They had practiced in toxic environments, in zero gravity, in tight spaces. This was just another day at work. They fought through the biohip's defenses, pushing deeper, following their sensors toward the central core. Dieho reached it first, a massive pulsing organ that seemed to be the biochip's brain and heart combined. It was huge. It was alien. It was disgusting. "Plant the charges," he ordered. His Marines placed explosive devices around the chamber. Lots of explosives, enough to crack a small asteroid. Sometimes the simple solutions were the best, Charges said. All personnel evacuate. 30 seconds. The Hellhounds retreated, fighting their way back to the Bree reach points. The biohip tried desperately to stop them, tried to seal the corridors, tried to crush them, tried everything. The Marines kept moving. They left the biohip the same way they entered it. Through violence, the explosives detonated. The massive bioship convulsed. Its hull ruptured in a dozen places. Internal organs spilled into space. It tried to heal, tried to adapt, but you cannot heal from your brain being destroyed. The biohip drifted lifeless. A 5-kilometer corpse floating through space. Target eliminated. Dejo reported returning to carrier. That was fun. We should do it again. But the Chromoth still had numbers. Dozens of bioships remained. They were learning, getting smarter, working together. They surrounded the human fleet, trying to overwhelm them from all sides. Admiral Hyun-woo watched the tactical display. He had hoped to avoid this, hoped that conventional weapons would be enough, but the Chromath were adapting too quickly. In another hour, they might develop defenses that actually worked. He could not allow that. All ships, he said quietly, deploy antimatter weapons. Maximum yield. Firing sequence Omega. There was a pause. Just a second. The weapons officers on every ship hesitated. Antimatter weapons were the ultimate taboo. The weapon that had nearly destroyed humanity during their worst wars. The weapon they had sworn never to use except in the most desperate circumstances. This qualified. Confirm order, Hyun-woo said. Deploy anti-adder weapons. The dreadnoughts opened their main weapon bays. Inside each one was a missile. Not large, not impressive looking, but each one carried a payload of antimatter. Not much, just a few grams. That was all you needed. When matter met antimatter, they destroyed each other completely. All the mass converted directly into energy. E equals mc squared and c squared is a very, very large number. 3 missiles launched. They flew toward the largest concentrations of Chromath bioships. The Chromath tried to stop them, tried to shoot them down. The missiles were too fast, too smart, too determined. They detonated in sequence. Space itself seemed to scream. The explosions were beyond anything the Chromath had experienced, beyond anything most species had ever witnessed. Pure energy release on a scale normally reserved for stars. The bioships closest to the detonation simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged. They were converted into their component atoms and scattered across the system. Bioships farther away were caught in the blast waves. The energy tore through them. Their organic armor meant nothing. Their adaptive defenses meant nothing. You cannot adapt to that much energy. You just die. On Vale of Prime, the population watched from their shelters. They saw 3 new suns appear in their sky. They saw their enemy, the unstoppable Chromoth swarm, vanish in fire and light. They saw what humanity meant when they said they would solve the problem. Total annihilation. When the energy dissipated, when sensors could see again, the tactical displays updated. The Chromath biohips were gone. All of them. 37 major vessels, hundreds of smaller organisms, an entire swarm that had consumed 17 worlds erased from existence. Captain Sora ran multiple sensor sweeps looking for survivors, looking for any sign of Chromath presence. She found nothing, not even debris. The antimatter weapons had been thorough. Admiral, she reported, all enemy contacts eliminated. No Chromath signatures detected in the system. They are gone, completely gone. Hyun-woo nodded slowly. He felt tired, old. Using those weapons always made him feel old. They were terrible things. Weapons that should not exist, but they did exist, because sometimes terrible things were necessary. Open a channel to Vale of Prime, he said. Tell them it is over. Tell them they are safe. Tell them, he paused. What did you tell people after you saved them by unleashing apocalypse? Tell them humanity kept its promise. The message went out. On Vela Prime in the command center, Counselor Haiwan received it. She listened. Then she started crying. Not from fear, not from grief, from relief, from joy, from the overwhelming realization that her people would survive. Ambassador Yuna put a hand on her shoulder. They did it. The humans actually did it. They saved us. Fleet Commander Taiyang stared at the sensor readings at the empty space where the Chromath had been. They did not save us, he said quietly. They annihilated our enemy. There is a difference, a very important difference. The three Valens looked at each other. They understood now. Understood what they had called. Understood what humanity really was. Not saviors, not heroes, not the peaceful neighbors the galaxy hoped for. They were the apex predators of a death world, and when you called them for help, they did not come to protect you. They came to destroy your enemies completely, absolutely, without mercy or hesitation. The galaxy had feared humanity for 200 years. After today, the galaxy would understand that fear was justified and that sometimes that fear was the only thing that could save you.